Hi there. Welcome to New Tracks Modeling. New Tracks is an exciting new digital opportunity to obtain mentoring to help you improve your modeling. You will meet talented modelers and manufacturers from all over the world who share their model building skills and artistic advice. Improve your modeling and increase the confidence in your modeling efforts. Share your building efforts with fellow modelers and have some fun doing it. The shows are live on Zoom and YouTube, so be sure to join in and ask your questions. Now here is New Tracks founder and your host, Jim Kello, MMR.
Well, good evening. Thank you so much for coming tonight. I really do appreciate it. We all do. And I hope you'll come back many more times, and I hope you'll tell your friends to join us. First of all, I was told by one of the people running the shows that we were negligent last week because there were people who have watched the video after the show has gone off the air and have made comments on YouTube, and no one has responded to those comments. And I apologize for that. I didn't even know that because once the show is finished, I don't go back and look at the YouTube video, and I didn't know that people were commenting on it. So I apologize about that. We have that taken care of now, and a new member of our team is going to make sure that if you have comments after the show on YouTube, that you will get an answer either from him or whoever needs to be asked to address your questions. So thank you for the comments and thank you for the questions, and we'll try to do better in the future. Now I'd like to introduce to you one of the people that have helped build this show to what it is today, and who helped me from the start of it almost. Greg Cassidy. Greg recently received a real honor, as far as I'm concerned, from the Village Collectors community. He's now a member of their Hall of Fame for the scenes that he created. I think it's over Halloween. So Greg, congratulations. I'm so happy for you. It's a well-deserved honor. And I really appreciate you being here tonight, maybe to share a few photos of the scenes that you created.
Thank you, Jim. I will go ahead and bring this up. Hi, I'm Greg Cassidy. And Jim said he'd give me the opportunity to show a little bit about my induction into the Village Collectors Hall of Fame. I'd like to show you how that can relate to model railroading. For the last 18 years, I've been setting up a Halloween Village display. It starts by bringing up a portion of my collection from the basement and clearing the living room of furniture so I can set up tables for the display. After about 3 weeks of work, I have the pieces set up in the scenes that I want and ready to power up the lights and animation. One of the things I enjoy in this, just as in model railroading, is setting up small vignettes or scenes that can tell a story. I've also been posting a video of my village on YouTube for the last few years. Well, this year, the Village Collector website took notice of my 2019 display. There was none in 2020 and 2021 wasn't up yet, and included it on their website. And unbeknownst to me, it was nominated to be in their 2021 Hall of Fame. They notify all the nominees and ask them to tell their friends to vote for their favorite videos, which I dutifully did. That included many of my friends here at the New Tracks Modeling Group, as well as my friend Jim Kello. While it's largely a popularity vote, I like to believe that it allowed me to introduce the hobby of village collecting to some of my model railroading friends as I was sharing it. I'll also acknowledge that while Halloween villages are few compared to the Christmas villages on display every year, that all the nominees are excellent villages that their creators have put a lot of thought and work into setting up. The Village Collector had its voting go for roughly 2 weeks, and I was fortunate enough to be leading most of the time, thanks to all of my friends voting, as well as I like to thank some of the other villagers who liked my display. Once the unveiling of the winner was announced on January 20th, I was stunned and honored to see that I was in first place and that my video was entered as #1 in the 2021 Hall of Fame. While this was fun, and I hope opens the concept of village collecting to more people, the biggest thrill and most satisfaction I get out of doing this every year is to see the anticipation and excitement of the trick-or-treaters on Halloween night as they come in our house to see the village. Many of them are coming back for their third or fourth or fifth time and look forward to what changes I've done from year to year. If any of you are interested in seeing the villages that are entered into the Hall of Fame, the website is thevillagecollector.com. There are links to all of the videos there, and of course you'll find mine on my YouTube channel, Greg Cassidy's Workshop, where I also have much of my model railroad building videos. I will put a link to the Village Collector's website in the chat once I'm done here. And I want to thank Jim for the chance to share with you a hobby that I enjoy as much as model railroading, although for a much shorter time each year. I think of it as getting to build a new layout every year, but then tearing it down 6 weeks later. And if anyone has any questions about those, I'll be happy to be here at the after show to answer them.
Well, Greg, I really appreciate it. And again, congratulations to a well-deserved honor. And thanks so much for being here and sharing it with us tonight.
My pleasure.
Now I'd like to talk about the new program that we've started on Saturdays. It's called New Tracks Workshop. The moderator of it is Chris Blackmar, and he's got some great help. He's got some other people that are going to be presenters on the show that are, I think one of them at least is here tonight. Rich Wolfhanger is going to be on the show, and also John Thomas Reynolds. I've gotten a lot of comments about John's presentation when he was on the show talking about his card building with soda, Coca-Cola packaging. And people wanted him to go into more detail on how he does his board on board and so forth. And he's agreed to do that. And he'll be doing it on the show with Chris on a Saturday. I don't know exactly the date he's going to do it. It may be part of a series that he creates for the show, which I think would be wonderful because I think he's an extremely talented modeler. But Chris has started out, his first show was the January the 22nd. And the next show coming up is this Saturday. We have a short video that I'd like to play for you right now. That is a short that we're using on YouTube to promote the show. So Ken, if you could run the video for me.
Are you into making things? Want to create something from nothing? Join the New Tracks Modeling Workshop, a new show from the New Tracks Modeling folks. Every Saturday, learn how to make things from scratch from some of the best model makers around. To join the fun live, subscribe to the New Tracks Modeling YouTube channel or sign up at newtracksmodeling.com to join in on Zoom.
So I hope that more of you will attend the Saturday show. We had a great turnout for the first show. I think roughly 50 people turned out to watch it live, and about 160 people have watched the video so far. Since the first show. So I'm really encouraged by that. And Chris did a wonderful job in the introduction for the first show. And I'm really looking forward to how this show progresses, because I think scratch building is something that a lot of people are interested in. I'm getting a lot of emails about it and about different ideas that we might want to consider for the show. So Chris, I'll turn it over to you if you'd like to say a few words about it.
Well, thank you, Jim. Just everybody, please come and join us and feel free to show your models. You don't have to be building the exact building that I'm building. And we're just going to be discussing various scratch building techniques and various modeling techniques across the board. You know, if you're working on an airplane or on a boat or in a military, all of you would have something to contribute to this show because it is a modeler show. So we're going to be kind of focusing this week on finishing up some discussions on extrapolating dimensions out of photos. And then we're also going to be looking at some of the issues with using templates and various processes, because there's about 3 different rabbit holes you can go down when you're using some templates. And we'll look at the pros and cons of those. And we're going to hopefully start cutting some templates and avoid any bloody fingers. So anyway, come and join us on Saturday. And with that, Jim, I'll turn it back over to you.
Okay, thank you. And this show is each Saturday at 1 o'clock Eastern time. If you have subscribed to our website, then you'll get an email with the login link for each one of the shows to make it easy for you to attend. And if you subscribe to YouTube, then you'll get automatically notified when the show starts and be able to easily find the video of the show afterward. So Chris, thanks so much for the great job you did last Saturday. And I know that the future holds an awful lot of good things for Scratch Building. Thank you. Now I'd like to turn to our upcoming build-alongs, and we've got quite a few and more in the works. February the 9th, Paul Reeves, who owns Kershaw Models, is teaming up with Martin Breck Build MMR to build an O-scale sandwich bar, one of his kits. March 23rd, Bruce Nicholson, the owner of Seaport Model Works. This is the first ship modeler that we've had on the show doing a build along, is going to start building his kit of a waterline kit of a 53-foot coastal steam passenger ferry in HO scale. March the 30th, Rick and Marie Hunter are back. They're going to be building their Hunterline 50-foot queen post covered bridge. Kits are available in all 4 scales, and there's a significant 20% discount off of the regular price for the models in all of those scales. So if you're interested, you've seen them on the show prior building some of the Hunterline models, and they were very well received, and Marie does such a fantastic job. I hope that you'll consider that. Then April the 6th, David Vaughn, the owner of Wit and Wisdom Models, with Jim Murphy being the builder, are going to be building his Nighthawks Cafe. There's a great discount for the N, HO, S, and O scale models of it. And it's something that I think is going to really be an important model for all scales in the community. This originally was inspired by John Armstrong. It's his diner that he created many, many years ago. And John, of course, is a well-known, respected model railroader. And this is one of the great models that he created that's being returned now and brought back to life by Wit and Wisdom. Then May the 25th, Chris Course, the owner of Conowingo Models and the person that has a great newsletter, is going to be building one of his new kits that he's titled the Kello Trolley Station. Thank you so much for that, Chris. And that's going to have a discount for it. And you'll be hearing more from Chris about that shortly. Starting June the 1st, Bill Banner, owner of Banner Model Works, will be building one of his kits, which is the first OM30 model that we've had built on the show. And it's a caboose kit. And I really appreciate Bill offering to do this. I think this is going to really be an unusual model and something a little different for our build-alongs. Then starting July 13, Paul Egret, the card designer, and John Thomas Reynolds are going to be building a card model that's going to be free to download. It's going to be able to be downloaded in any scale you want. It'll be posted on our website, newtraxmodeling.com, and you'll be able to download it. It'll be posted on the site sometime, I think, in June of this year. And then you'll be able to download it and get ready to build it along with John Roberts. And then we have some other things that we're working on that we'll announce shortly. I hope you want to participate in some of these, if not all of these, because both the manufacturers and the modelers have gone to an awful lot of trouble and effort to make this valuable for you and something that's appealing. And I hope that you'll pay attention to them and help support this effort because this is something unusual. As far as I know, we're the only people that are doing something like this right now. And I think it has an awful lot to offer to modelers to be able to have somebody that can answer their questions and be available to them to actually build along with them whenever they're running into any issue with the model that they may not have anticipated. So I think it's a great opportunity to learn and to build models, and I hope you'll take advantage of it. Our next My Build segment is February the 16th, and then after that, March on the 16th. These are now sponsored by two great magazines, O-Scale Resource and S-Scale Resource, owned by Amy and Dan Darby, under their company, Model Railroad Resources, LLC. And we've got a very short video that we're going to be using to start promoting the My Build segment on YouTube to try to get more interest in it and more modelers attending the show and sharing their modeling with us. So Ken, if you could run that video, I'd appreciate it.
Welcome to the world of scale, O and S railroading. We are your resource for all O and S scale modeling. Both our magazines are advertiser supported and free to read online, download as a PDF, or even print. All advertisers are hot linked to their website, so if you see something you like, just click. Please check out our websites for the current issues. All back issues available free for the O-Scale Resource and the S-Scale Resource magazines. And, if you are a manufacturer, distributor, or retail establishment, please contact us through our website for advertising opportunities.
And we really hope, again, we're getting a lot of people now that are coming forward and sharing with us their models. And you'll be able to see their models and hear about them, talk about them in both of those magazines. So not only will you be able to see them on the show, but now that Dan and Amy are sponsoring this segment, you'll also be able to see them in the magazines and be able to see some great magazines, and it's all for free. There's no charge for either of the magazines. Before I start the show, I want to mention here that we really need a lot of help on this show. It's amazing. I think we have roughly 15, 16 people now involved in creating these shows to try to make them interesting for you and different and try to give the flavor to you that I hear from you that you like to have. So we need help. We need more people than the people that we have right now because as we grow, it's just more effort to try to keep track of all the details and make sure that all the bases are touched. One of the things that we really desperately need right now is we need help in trying to promote ourselves on YouTube. And we need help in creating these shorts so that we can consistently put out the shorts and try to increase our audience on YouTube. We have right now 712, I think, as of this morning, subscribers to our YouTube channel. And based on the figures that I've seen for the last show, we have almost 400 views of our videos from the last show. We have about 160 video views of the Saturday show so far. So that to me is encouraging. We are increasing in YouTube, but we need help in creating these shorts. And we're not asking somebody to create all of them. If you could just help us with one of them or help us with putting together the concepts. That's the kind of help we need. Again, my email is jimkello@newtracksmodeling.com. If you'll send me an email, then we can talk about it. If you'll send me your telephone number, I'll call you back and we can discuss it by the telephone. But we desperately need help in those areas. Chris Blackmore needs help producing the shows on Saturday that he's working on. And we've got some help for him, but we need additional help for him. We need somebody that can write up the basic information of what's going to be on the upcoming shows and so forth, and get it ready to be posted on our website, for example. So there's a lot of little things that we need people to help us do that won't take you a tremendous amount of time, but make the shows much more valuable to the whole audience. And from what I'm hearing and getting emails for in the roughly 2 years now we've been doing this Zoom show, is you like what you're seeing and you like how we're doing it and you want us to continue it. And we want to continue it, but we need help. So please consider donating a little bit of your time. After all, this is a participatory show. This is not something that we want everybody to come and sit back in their easy chair and watch somebody else work. Everybody needs to contribute to make the show successful. So with that said, Ken, can you run one more video for me for the new tracks?
Are you into making things? Want to create something from nothing? Join New Tracks Modeling every Wednesday live, right here on YouTube and on Zoom. Learn how to make things from some of the best model makers around. To join the fun live, subscribe to the New Tracks Modeling YouTube channel or sign up at newtracksmodeling.com to join in the fun on Zoom.
And that is one of the shorts. That has been viewed now by 61 people so far since Dan Cohen posted it for us earlier this week. And that's the kind of thing that I'm told we need to create and post on tracks on YouTube in order to promote new tracks and get more audience and interest in our program from the people who are not on Zoom with us, but are on the YouTube channel. So that's the kind of thing that we need to create. That's the kind of help that we need. We have photos, we have a message. We just need people to be able to do the technical aspects of putting those things together for us and helping us get them posted on YouTube. So again, my email is jimkellow, JIMKELLOW @newtracksmodeling.com. So now I'd like to start the show today after I bored you with all these announcements, I guess. And I'd like to turn to Ted Becker for the quick tip of the evening. Ted, welcome.
Well, good evening. Tonight, I'm going to talk about the space-time continuum, gravity, and black holes. You know, you hear all about warp space and things like that, but do you realize that those phenomena exist right here in front of our workbenches? You drop something, there's a warp in gravity. It does not fall straight to the floor. Somewhere in between the edge of your bench and the floor, the warp space takes over, and that piece you dropped ends up some random distance in some random direction away from your bench. The other phenomenon is black holes. They exist also right here because parts that fall off the bench disappear into those black holes. So there is a way you can protect yourself against these phenomena. And you can see this stylish garment I'm wearing. It's called an apron. And you can find these on the internet, Amazon, other sources. It's called either a chef's apron or a bib apron. And the trick is in the lower corners, you figure out some way to attach it to the corners of your bench. Now, in my case, my my bench back here has steel legs, so I can stick magnets to the steel legs. If you don't do that, you can use Velcro to stick it up under the edge of the bench to hold it, so that your parts you drop will be intercepted from that space-time continuum anomaly and be caught in the apron. These come in a variety of colors, all kinds of fancy prints. You're probably best off with a solid color, light white or some other light color. You can find these for about between $5 and $10 on the internet. This one I bought from Georgia Towel about 6 years ago. I went looking for their website in preparation for this presentation. I couldn't find them, but I found a number of suitable aprons on Amazon and on Etsy. So like I said, you do a search for a bib apron or a schiss apron, couple magnets, a couple steel washers, or some matching pieces of Velcro, and you can protect yourself from the space-time continuum. And that's my tip for tonight.
Well, thank you. That's a great tip too. I have one like that, and you're right. It's a godsend to not have to keep trying to find these little parts all over the floor. Thank you so much, Ted. Now I'd like to turn to Daryl Jacobs of Interaction Hobbies for his segment that he does for us each week called The Art of Details. Daryl, welcome.
Hey guys, thanks a lot. I gotta admit, Ted's apron idea is one of the best ones I've seen in a while, and I've seen it before, but continue to ignore it. And in making tonight's video, I definitely continue to ignore it because the little parts you'll see, I made them about 3 times and they're still on the floor someplace. So anyway, tonight's video is about kind of more about the precise application of glue and painting of small parts. That's incorporated into one of our new pieces we have coming out, which is talked about in the video. My assistant Nicole this week is sick, so you won't hear much of her lovely voice, but she promises she'll be back next week, so you can listen to the music. And so there, in those immortal words of Professor Fate, Ken, push the button. Thanks.
Hi there. Welcome to The Art of Detail, where we make the little stuff come to life. This time, we are going to build an O-scale telephone booth from Interaction Hobbies.
Ba-ba
there you have it. A phone booth that will stun and amaze. We hope you enjoyed building this interaction hobbies detail. Have a great day and happy modeling.
Well, great. Thank you very much. That was fun to do, and hope you enjoyed it. Had a little bit of lag at this end. Might not have had things efficiently done there on the net, but hope you enjoyed it.
Carol, let me ask you a question. What was the most difficult part of building that little phone booth?
That phone cable, the cable connecting the phone to the booth. I must have cut 5 of them and shot them across the room about 4 times. So, but that was probably the most difficult part. And I would say painting the phone itself for me is difficult. Painting laser cut parts are easy if you layer them, but 3D printed parts or resin castings are always difficult.
Okay, well, thank you so much. I appreciate you doing this for us this evening. And now I'd like you to meet somebody from India that I am really honored to be able to introduce you to him. Sharadhai is a model maker. He owns his own company in India called Ideal Mockup. And he has also been named the ambassador to India for the Association of Professional Model Makers, which is, in my opinion, a real honor for him. So when I found that out and I communicated with him a few times, I've asked him to be on the show and to talk about how he got to be a model maker, his company, what he does, and so forth. So, Sharad, thank you so much for being here this evening. I really do appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, Jim, for giving me an opportunity to represent myself. Regarding my company, I think most of the audience in your show are rail track rail line modelers. Mine is more into product development kind of business where you require similar skill set of model making. We make appearance models for products. It is mostly used for industrial design application. I hope people are aware of industrial design.
Yes, I think we are. Yeah.
Okay. I think in India, we have to explain a lot about what industrial design is. So similarly is with model making also associated with that. My company makes full-scale models of mostly consumer durable products like refrigerator, washing machine, air conditioners, medical equipments. So, we have clients all across India. And also we export to countries like sometimes US, but US, UK, Japan also, Korea also, but very less. I would say it is like just 0.2% of business export, very less. We started this company because I found there were very few model makers in India who were doing model making, but they were not making model as per required quality. And I tried to support some model makers, asking them, why don't you invest in some new technology wherein we can get more quality and also we can do faster work? Because in this area where I work in product development, fast model making is also one of the criteria, along with very realistic appearance of the model. As you work in small scale, we have to work mostly in full scale. So refrigerator has to be in a full scale, actual scale representation of a finished design concept. when I spoke to model makers, they were very hesitant about investing in new technologies like CNC machining or SLA, SLS, or casting. So before model making, I was into industrial design. So I was working with LG as a design head there, which was representing India. So there we used to get all the mockups done from Korea. And I was very much impressed by the model makers who used to make models. I was having a first time interaction with professional model making. In India, we used to have a traditional model making type of concept where most of the time manual skill was used. And it used to take a lot of time also. And the accuracy which was achieved was not very, very precise. What I saw in working with LG or in Korea was even I designed a television in LG company. I was a television designer, and I had a first project of making TV. And I was highly impressed by the way my design was appearing in mockup. So means it was beyond my visualization. I thought this is all because of model maker that it is looking so beautiful. My design is looking so beautiful. So I thought this is something which is very, very important for industrial design profession in India. And somehow after maturing from industrial design, I thought it would be good to start this company. So I started this company in 2012. And I learned a little bit of model making in my design learning. But when it comes to professional model making, it was like a new person starting from scratch, because we had to learn everything: CNC machining, spray painting, then finishing, screen printing, everything we had to learn from scratch. Even the software programs we had to learn from scratch. And I think it took almost a year to perfect ourselves. We had to replace models of clients. And that's how we slowly got our name established in professional appearance model making in India. So this is what I can brief about how, what my company is and what we do.
Let me ask you this, Sean. How would you describe the model making industry in India? Are there a lot of people interested in it? Is it something that is a brand new industry for the country?
It is not a brand new industry, but somehow I feel it got diminished. Earlier, I remember in my career, I saw model makers. I was working in one company which was called Electrolux. It was a European company which had a subsidiary in India. There I saw model makers, but in India, there's no professional training of model making. There are no schools of model makers. So the craftsmen who were like carpenters or who were into hobby or who were who had certain skill sets, they used to join a company and make models. I remember there were few companies who used to make models in India, but what happened was in between, I am talking about personally in our field of design, many model makers, they left model making. They left model making maybe because of the pressure of the need of making high quality mockups in less time. So also there was a need of high investment because you have to use CNC machines and new production technologies. So somewhere or the other, they were not able to catch up. That's what I feel. And that's how the model making got diminished. So particularly, I would say there are some model making companies in India, but they are mostly into SLA, SLS, engineering, prototyping kind of support. And in appearance model making, you require people to have high skill of finishing and detailing, just like railroad model making business, where manual work is more. So that kind of industry somehow got diminished. Means people didn't come forward, or model makers, they just left their businesses, or they didn't aspire to grow that to a highly professional, demanding profession.
I've also found it difficult to find even hobbyists, model railroaders, for example, in India. Number one, because of the very high price of the import duties and so forth. It almost keeps people out of the hobby making business, and therefore, and from the hobby standpoint, the skills that they might have needed to become professional model makers, they just don't have, because they can't afford the cost to even get involved in a hobby.
Actually, one thing is the cost which is involved, as you said, in making models, also the labor and time which goes into that. And eventually the model becomes quite expensive. So in India, you don't find regular customers who really want to spend so much money on model making. So I think nowadays there would be very few model makers who would be catering to very niche segment. Means the buyers are very less. I would say not just buyer, but the people who want to appreciate the business. Okay, because there's very less, means there are no people who are collectors kind of in India. So it becomes means even if a person has a hobby to make it, it just remain as a hobby. It doesn't become like a profession, like a earning profession, bread and butter kind of thing.
Yeah. So where do you see the business going in the future? What are your plans for the future?
Future, it is mostly expansion plans. Currently, my workshop is very small and we are like fully congested. I have around 20 members working with me, and work is increasing because I think, as I said, very few people are coming in this profession in India. And eventually we don't do any sales or marketing. It is more word of mouth. We thought that it is good to invest everything in making the mock-ups really good. So those are really helping word of mouth publicity with clients. And as far as expansion is concerned, I have a dream of investing into various technologies. Currently, I don't have SLA, SLS. So that area is where I want to invest myself. And then because I'm not able to find the land, proper land, I want a government land which is cheaper, because if I try to buy it from a private person, it will be very expensive. So through government I'm trying, and there are things happening there, but government things, they move very slowly. There is a scheme which is coming, which I'm looking forward. It is not yet finalized. It would take a year, I think. So apart from that, means even it comes as a role, as my role as an ambassador. I wanted to make this profession more popular. So my plan is once I'm established, because I don't have any sales and marketing team. So just recently I got a sales person who can do also project management and help me in that. Once I'm free with that, then I plan to start with some kind of competition, model making competition, where people can participate. And I come to know about hobbyists, especially young people who are interested, and encourage them, appreciate them through their skills, by recognizing their skills. So that is one of my idea, which was long back, but maybe because of unsettling business, I kept it at a back burner. But I think maybe as an ambassador, that role will also help me to identify a lot of people. And yes, it will help in making people take more interest in the skills of model makers.
Well, I really admire what you're going to do for the hobbyist. I personally believe that model railroaders have an awful lot of skills that they learn along the way that can be transferred to a future career in being a professional model maker. And I encourage you to go down that road, because I think that may be a source potentially of a great labor force for you. And I wish you all the best. Does anybody else have any questions for Sherard?
Can he describe some of the models he's made?
I can share you one image presentation. Is it okay?
Yes, please.
What happened? Hello?
Yep, we're not seeing any, we're not getting anything. Are you trying to share something with us?
Yeah.
Ken, can you help him share?
Yeah,
You see
share
the-
screen. Yes.
And then click the upper left.
Can you see my screen?
Now I can. It says make ideas look awesome.
Yeah. So these are our clients, LG, Samsung, IFB. And these are kind of work we do. Can you see some images? There's an air conditioner,
Yes.
a microwave, then air fryer. These are all consumer durable. These are still old images, because we with clients we have non-disclosure agreements. So the designs which get older, maybe 2 to 3 years, when they come to market, then we share in portfolio. You can see some commodes, which are wash basins, which are made for cooler industry. Then you can see a lot of remote controls, small electronic gadgets. When we are making models, sometimes client require kind of electronic simulations, actual functionality display. So it is kind of dummy, but you can show how the things are taken out, or how things usability, how a mockup will be used, a product will be used. Like in the extreme left image, you can see a heater sort of element, which is not an actual heater, but there is a combination of lighting which is simulating that heating is happening inside. Then we also do some architectural work, not very, but this kind of architectural work, what we did was they require to be made it from plastic. So they came to us, and then we made a mall, a miniature shopping mall, which was exported to South Africa to one of the customer. This is like interior of hospital, which was used for marketing purpose. It was it was scaled down. The height of this model would be approximately 30 centimeter. So it used to be carried by the salesperson to the market to exhibit what they have to offer in hospital management, the equipments, all. Then these are scaled down models, which solar boiler. This was meant for exhibition in Germany. And there are some other models which are like machines, scaled down machines, which were used for display by LG company. So there are many other products which we make, like refrigerator and washing machines.
Well, Sharad, you've got a significant list of companies that you're working for and some beautiful products that you're making. So it's no wonder your company is growing and being successful as I know it is.
Yeah. This year, even though there was a COVID, we had crossed our earlier high sales target. So our financial year actually starts from April and ends in March. So we are still 2 months. We still have 2 months. So I think, and we have a lot of orders also to execute. So this year, definitely we had grown a lot, even when the COVID is there.
You see the foreign market increasing for you, the export market?
Currently, I have not shown much interest in foreign market because my intent was, initial intent was to help my own country to fulfill this requirement. So I had very few foreign assignments, very few. Whenever there's a requirement, I do that. I don't avoid that, but I didn't push myself for export market.
I got you. Okay. Anybody else have any more questions?
Hi, Sharad. This is Greg Cassidy. I asked this question because my daughter's been overseas for over 8 years teaching this. Do you consider that English is the business language that's used in most other countries when they do have to communicate with the rest of the business world?
Yes. Yes, that's true.
Good. It's good to hear she's not wasting her efforts. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
Have you ever thought about making brass locomotive models? I would sure like to see a country like India make models so I don't have to buy from China.
I made a locomotive model, scaled down locomotive model. It was electronic vehicle, EV. Can you hear me?
Yes.
It was electronic vehicle three-wheeler model, which was promoting their three-wheelers. So they were very small, this much small scale models. That was my first assignment. There was another assignment was for making scooters, electronic vehicle scooters, which didn't move ahead because the technology which I use for making scale down models is CNC machining, not because they require in volume. Whenever they require a scale model, first they will ask us to develop a scale down model and then make replica of that, 20, 30 or 50 kind of. So even if I make one scaled model for locomotive, it will be very expensive. If I make 30, they will also be expensive. So because every model I have to do machining and repeat same process of finishing manually everything. So it doesn't become a valuable proposition for client. So it become what I can say. I make locomotive models. It means I had an experience making locomotive models, but there are very few customers for that.
So really what you're not seeing is you're not seeing the importers to the US coming and saying, we want you to make this as a production product there. What you're making for the model is you're making a one-off model of something that,
Yes.
that a manufacturer wants to experiment with.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Sure. Larry McDonald here, Toronto.
Hi.
Are you hands-on in some of the model making itself, or do you work in a management position?
Currently, I work on a management position because I have to manage client briefing and then do quotations and then try to work out a deal with them, negotiate. And after that is done, I need to brief my team what needs to be made. And then accordingly, I have a supervisor who takes the briefing and then we distribute the work. It goes to CAD modeling, then goes to CNC machine. So that process happens. As far as my personal thing is concerned, I do have a hands-on experience myself because that's how I started. Because initially I learned machining. I didn't learn machining, but I helped machining. I was doing most of the CAD modeling myself in the starting of business. And then the gluing and finishing and painting, screen printing, that all I have to do because I didn't get people, professional model makers to support. So so that's how I was doing myself, a lot of model making initially. But now I trained people, whoever I take as a model maker, those are not trained model maker. So I need to give them time, 1 month or 2 months or 3 months, train them in paper model making and other plastic model making, basic geometries, teach them CAD, give them some briefing or training about painting process and screen printing process, finishing process, and then get people on the task. So I would say currently my role is more management looking, but overall I have to, even if I try to avoid personally getting involved into model making, but somehow because of the client requirement or pressure of work, I need to speed up things and have to put myself into project. Oh, we have to do like this, we have to do like that. Let's do this. So that kind of involvement is there right now.
So I'm very impressed with your products, and I was thinking just all the geometry, particularly in the commode area, it struck me that would be very difficult, but you say you're working in CAD. But
yeah.
Now when you build these models, is that just, sorry.
The designs are given by the company.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We don't design, we only fabricate.
So they provide you with the software. Or
yeah,
product,
yes, they provide with us with CAD data.
Okay, I was thinking the other way around, and then going maybe to drawings when we go down to the production floor, so they could do the different components. And that. Okay,
it would be a design work. So they have a design team which gives us data. what we do apart from their data is we make fabrication detailing of model, how to fabricate.
Let's see. This is very interesting. You can see this is outside of our norm, just building train models, and that just as a, a train enthusiast. So this is very interesting. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
As I understand it, the real problem when you started your company was people, the Indian companies could design the product. No one could build the model from their design.
Right, including me.
Yeah, and so what you did is you started your company basically to fill that gap, so that once the designer had designed a product, then you stepped in and actually produced that product, one-off product, for that company. And then they can see if that's what they want to manufacture, and if they want to move forward, or whether they want to tweak it in some direction and so forth. That skill of production of the one-off product is what was missing in the industry in India.
Yes, you got it right, Jim.
Okay. And because of that, then the manufacturers in India were having to shop that out internationally to get the model of whatever they thought they wanted to build.
Yes, right.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Are there other questions?
Yes, on the scale models, I think I heard that they're made out of plastic. Of course, in the US, we have a number of manufacturers who make all kinds of scale or small plastic sheet and strip and other various shapes. What are you using as sources for the plastic? And are you fabricating everything just from sheets, or is there greater variety available?
Yeah. There are sheets which are 50 mm thicknesses, or 60 mm, 70 mm, 80 mm thicknesses. So our basic, whenever we get geometry from the customer, we slice it to the required thicknesses, maybe 50 mm, 40 mm, 30 mm, depending on the details in the design. And then those sliced parts, we separately machine. And then we glue them together. So the raw material which we use is acrylic blocks or thick sheets, and ABS. ABS also you might have heard, acryobutadiene. It is a very good material for fabrication. So that we use. And raw material ABS is mostly imported from China, because we don't get any local manufacturer of that. We get ABS sheets of very thin thicknesses, maximum 5 mm. But if we have to go for more thickness, then we had to import. So that's our basic plastic. And sometimes what happens is there are engineering requirements wherein engineer or design engineer, they want specific material like nylon or polypropylene or HDPE. So based on, I normally avoid that kind of specific requirements, but sometimes considering that client desperately needs some kind of support there, then I help them out.
That's impressive. We're spoiled in the ability to just go on the internet and order scale strips and sheets, the dimensions we need, and can cut those up and make our models. You have to actually make your parts first.
Yeah. Right.
And can you imagine being a model railroader there and trying to, since you don't have it locally, you're having to import everything that you build with, all of the material, everything has to be imported. And there are significant duties connected with that. So whatever you're paying here in the US, you can probably double or triple it for the same amount of product in India. So talk about the cost of being a modeler. In the US, it's nothing compared to the cost there. And yet, at the same time I say that, there are some very, very talented modelers, model railroaders in India that I've met. And most of them are not building kits, they're building it from scratch. And that's basically the hobby in India, as I understand it, at least.
Actually, in India, the model making, one big problem is resources.
Yeah.
So you don't find, if you have to have a particular kind of plastic or particular kind of material or paints or inks or whatever kind of, if you need to have a lot of variety options, you find it very difficult to get in India.
Are you having the supply chain problem in India? Are you having a problem getting containers, that kind of thing?
As far as ABS is concerned, ABS is our major raw material, I would say. And initially we had a problem, but now we had established a kind of supplier in China who, if we just mail them, they send us material and we pay and they send the material. It takes around, I think, earlier it used to take 1 month before COVID. Now it takes almost 2 months for the material to come. But I keep a sufficient buffer stock with me, so that once the material once we see that our stock is getting depleted, we order the material in advance.
Yeah.
So that we don't lose on time.
Yeah. Anyone else questions?
I have one question. You were talking about getting into 3D printers. Have you considered like buying like the really small ones and all that, just to sort of practice on parts before you get a more of a production ready machine?
As far as my exploration is concerned with 3D printing, I had brought one small 3D printer, and it was India-made 3D printer, not very expensive, I would say. And the purpose of buying that was only to see how 3D printing can help me out in the business. What happened was the clients, when I gave some parts to customers, they somehow felt that the machine part was better than 3D printing part. So whenever it all depends on the customer, if they feel that they want to have a 3D printed part only, they would ask for 3D printing. But there are a lot of options in India as far as 3D printing is concerned. Means for engineering people, they can get it done through other people, but when the design engineer, they want my component or part should not be 3D printed, it should be machine only, because they have to do because they require certain kind of finish or transparency, or I would say the strength or reliability aspect, they would go for this CNC machine only. And as far as our area is concerned of appearance mock-up making, working on a 3D printed part is very, very difficult, because you have to add a lot of putty on the material. But in CNC, it is more clean process. You just have to remove tool marks and you get a perfect dimension surface. So you don't have to do much of putty work on CNC machine part. Because in appearance mock-up, surface finish is very important, and those surfaces are not I would say unorganized kind of surfaces. They are highly accurate surfaces. Dimensionally, all the surfaces have to be reproduced as per CAD data, and we have very less margin. We have to work in microns, like you work in small scale models, fine details. So for us, surface detail at that microscopic level is very important. So that's why 3D printing doesn't help us in appearance model making. It can help in engineering, checking dimensions or concepts, dimensional concepts, fitments and all. But when it comes to reliable part, the client would ask for CNC machined parts. So I had explored that I had a filament driven 3D printer. So it was very less used in my company, but whenever I used to do 3D printing, I found we have to do certain kind of servicing there. Either the material was material would have expired of not using regularly, or there would be some power issues or with 3D printing. So we trained ourselves with 3D printer. We have confidence we can do 3D printing. But I think as far as skill is concerned, it doesn't require a skill set as compared to appearance model making. So I feel I should not invest in SLA or SLS because customer himself, they invest.
Gotcha, understood.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Jim, just to prove your point on the expense, I just did a little internet browsing and found a hobby or a store that sells model trains in Bangalore, India, and did a price comparison just to pick something that might be familiar to a lot of people. The Bachmann Spectrum 280 locomotive that we could buy right now on eBay for $160 or $170 is quoted by this shop as $420 after doing the conversion from Indian rupees to US dollars.
So how many of those do you think people are going to be buying?
Well, they seem to have a business selling model railroad equipment. It was the only one. I Googled model railroading in India, got one hit, this shop in Bangalore. They seem to have a nice selection, but yeah, it's a pricey hobby in India, isn't it?
It really is, and which explains why there's not more model railroads.
I think we should also check whether they are made in India.
Yeah. And there's one manufacturer that I know that I've written about in the past that does make model railroads, Indian based engines and cars for the Indian Railroad in India. And that's what he specializes in, and his company makes them.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Gerard, I can't thank you enough for being here this night. I think this has been very interesting, and for me, it's important that we try to introduce the modeler to what's happening around the world. We get so ingrained sometimes about this is model railroading in the U.S. We have no idea what people are doing model railroading or model making or anything else around the world. So thank you so much for being here tonight and sharing with us your experience and information about your company. I wish you the best of success, and thank you so very much.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you all members, railroad members, model makers. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, now I'd like to talk about a new segment for our show that we're going to be starting in April the 27th, I think it is. I've been thinking for some time about how to try to convey to you my feel that mentoring at its core to me is a one-on-one experience. That's how I learned. I was fortunate that I had some people that wanted to teach me and became very close friends and kind of helped me along the way and allowed me to try and fail and help me understand my problems and move on from there. And I've been struggling with, I started these Zoom meetings because that was the alternative. I've been writing articles for probably 3 years about mentoring and how to do it, and introducing people that I thought could be mentors to the modeling community and try to get them together. But when the pandemic hit, the Zoom was just, to me, a natural extension of that. And that's why New Tracks Zoom meetings started. Well, I've been struggling trying to figure out how on the Zoom shows I can introduce the local people, the local organizations particularly, that can provide the mentors for modelers locally, so that hopefully they can have the same kind of experience that I feel I was so fortunate to have. And I was talking to some people, and Phil Edholm and I were talking, and Phil is a superintendent of an NMRA division in California. Well, it just so happens that brought back a lot of memories for me. I've been an NMRA superintendent. I've been on the board of divisions in 2 regions. And frankly, that's part of the reason that I became a life member of the NMRA and a life member of the Eastern region of the NMRA. I met so many good people. Some of them became my mentors, some of them became my friends, some of them acquaintances. But I met so many talented modelers that way. When Phil and I started talking, I thought, well, maybe that's a source. Now, I know that there are people here, and I've heard the comments, that want to have nothing to do with the NMRA. And frankly, I'm not saying that you should become a member of the NMRA. But what I am saying is to try to introduce you, at least to be able to see some of the people and to meet some of the people locally who may be a benefit to you in your modeling. I'm going to start a segment on the show called Local NMRA Clubs and Divisions. And I've asked Phil Edholm to head it up. I've asked the president of the NMRA to appear on the first show to try to get it kicked off properly. And I'm hoping that it's going to be a highly successful segment for the show. We're going to try to do it once every 2 weeks and have different people, different presidents of clubs, different superintendents of divisions from around the country and around the world to come and to talk to you and give you an indication of what their organization is like, and what, if you visit their organization, what you can expect, maybe the people that you can meet, the activities that you can expect to participate in, and what they're all about. And I'm hoping that that's going to open some doors for some modelers on the show to find local places to meet modelers who may be able to help you in your modeling skills. So Phil, I'd like maybe for you to make some comments about this, since you're the one that's going to head this segment up.
Yeah, so I think, this is an interesting discussion. I think Jim came up with, I think it's a great idea here, because, it's interesting. The internet has enabled modelers to see a lot of techniques and understand and do a lot of things without ever leaving their home. And, clearly 2 years of COVID has exacerbated that issue dramatically now. But the reality is that I think there's the big part of model railroading is seeing things up close, being more demonstrative, doing things together, learning in groups. And so as Jim and I talked, we realized is there really are these 2 places you can do that, either, in an NMRA division where they're doing local events and it's local modelers and you get to see local layouts, or at a local club. So the idea was really to start some dialogues around, what clubs are doing, how they're engaging with modelers, what the value is for modelers to be part of those. So that's kind of the concept. And so one of the things, by the way, that I'd ask everyone, think about doing, if you're part of a club or if you're part of an NMRA division, and you've seen that as being helpful in your modeling, either you or along with someone from that division, send me an email and we'll set it up. And the idea is to, have just really a discussion about, what are you doing to make the experience of being a member unique and different and drive that mentoring experience. So look forward to hearing from everyone. I think it's a pretty interesting way to approach this. So I think it's great of Jim to come up with this concept. Anyway, back to you, Jim.
Okay. Well, I hope everybody is going to enjoy it. I hope it's beneficial to you. If you have any suggestions about how we're doing it or what we should be doing or whether you like the idea or not, I'd appreciate your email. We've tried some things in the past that haven't worked and we've stopped doing them. But I think that this has some real potential. And I really appreciate Phil stepping up to do this. We've got some people on the show. Clark Cooney is a superintendent and a president of a local club in Canada. And Clark has a tremendous amount of knowledge that he can pass on about what his organizations are doing. But that's just one person. And what we're trying to do is get this, much like Sherrod did today. We want people from around the world too, to be able to share what they're doing. Maybe some of the local divisions here that may not be doing that may consider starting to do that. You never know. And it's just a way of trying to open some communication that maybe people haven't thought about or maybe no one has taken the time to go visit a division meet. You don't have to be an NMRA member. Just you can find out when they are. What my plan is everybody that appears on one of our shows with Phil, we're going to include them on our website and have a direct link to whoever the person is at that division that people can talk to find out about them and find out when their meetings are and so forth. It's easy to find, where the clubs are and when they meet, and so forth. And then you can just show up. I mean, it's no, I've done it in the past, and I'm sure a lot of you have. You're just curious and you go to try to find out. Well, see if they're doing what you want done. And if they are, and there are people there that seem like they're interested in you and want to help you, then maybe you can get some help there. Maybe not, but I think it's worth a try to open some channels of communication. So with that said, that's basically our show for this evening. I thank you so very much for coming. I hope you've enjoyed it. Most of all, I hope you've learned something. If you'll go to our website, newtracksmodeling.com and subscribe, then you'll get an email from us. And if you'll confirm that email is the correct email address, then you'll receive the login links for all of our future shows, both the Wednesday show and the Saturday show. Don't forget that Chris Blackmar is doing another workshop show this Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And I hope that you'll attend that. I hope also that you'll go and subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can easily find the videos of the shows if you happen to miss one. And you'll get notices immediately of when the show is happening. We are getting more and more people now that are on YouTube that are viewing our shows and that are viewing the video of our shows after that. And that encourages me greatly. We can't have more than 100 people at a time on Zoom. So because of the cost increase it would cost us to be able to have more people on Zoom. So that's our limit for the Zoom audience. And we're over halfway there on the shows that we have already. So once we, in order not to have to pay that additional money, then our audience needs to participate with us on YouTube, and our YouTube audience is starting to grow. That's why I'm concentrating on trying to do the promotion now on YouTube in order to gain more audience not necessarily on the Zoom part of the show, but on the YouTube part of the show. So again, thanks for being here this evening. And now we'll go to the after show. Unfortunately, Mr. Cooney is away today, and he'll also be away next week. He's on a vacation. I'm not sure where he went, but he's on a vacation. So does anybody have anything that they would like to talk about on the after show? Please speak up.
Well, I have a comment, Jim.
Yes, sir.
About the Nighthawks cafe building.
Yes,
I think you
sir.
should give credit to Edward Hopper, the painter who painted the picture that inspired that model.
I totally agree. I've got a copy of that picture, and I'm posting that picture in the article that I'm writing about the Nighthawk Cafe. It's an excellent portrait, and it's something that obvious when you see it, you want it on your model railroad. I mean, this is really something to see. And watching Jim Murphy build this on the show, Jim is planning to do a complete interior, lighting and everything for this. So this really ought to be something special. And to be able to have a real piece of model railroading history, I think is important. And I really think that the owners of Wit and Wisdom are to be congratulated for bringing this kind of a kit to the market. I hope they do others.
Yeah, it's a terrific kit. You may recall in one of my introductory pieces on this program, I built that kit in O scale, and it is an amazing product. I do hope they produce other kits. If you're interested in the origin of the original model, the John Armstrong model, there's an article in a 1989 issue of Model Railroader where he explains how he scaled from the painting to create a three-dimensional model, which kind of fits in with the stuff that you're doing right now in your scratch building program on how to go from a photograph to a model. And Armstrong had an engineering background, and so he figured out how to look at that building in the painting, which is at an angle, and turn it into a square and three-dimensional structure. It's a fun article, and I'm sure you can find it in the Model Railroader Index.
And you know, frankly, when you were on the show and showed that model, that's why I called Wit and Wisdom. And I said, listen, I saw this. It's unbelievable to me. It's John Armstrong's model. My gosh, thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. We talked. I said, how about doing a build along? I said, I don't care what scale you build it in. It doesn't have to be O scale. So we're building it in HO scale. But they're offering the kit in N, HO, S, and O scale to the modelers. And they've got a nice discount on it in all of those scales. So I really hope a lot of people are interested in it, because when I saw the model that you built and how it looked, I thought everybody is going to want one of those. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful model in my opinion.
And they're very clever that though they did the whole 4-building section, they also offer just the diner. So if you don't have room for the whole assemblage, you can add just the diner, which is the keystone of the whole thing. And it comes with the 3D printed interior. And if you're like me, you add even more details to the interior. There's a pie case in there. And I spent a whole evening fabricating O-scale slices of pie to put in the pie case. And then when I was finished, I realized you couldn't see it.
Now, one thing I need to caution everybody about, the discount and everything is for in-stock models, in-stock inventory. And they have more in-stock inventory in the scales in the complete kit than they do the diner by itself. So if you want the diner by itself, my advice is you need to order it now. Because once that in-stock inventory is gone, then that's it. That's the end of that run. and they're going to require a significant number of pre-orders to run this again. So the run of this kit, I think, now is, if you want one, now is an opportunity to get the kit, and the discount applies both to the diner as well as the complete set of the kit. The one that's going to be built on the show is the complete buildings and everything. So Jim is going to have the whole kit to be able to build, the diner being a portion of that.
I got something, Jim.
Yes, sir.
While earlier you had the little video about doing the telephone booth.
Yes,
And
sir.
this is one I built way back by scratch. And it's actually 1/24th. And that kind of reminded me of, that video kind of reminded me of this, what I built, probably 25 years ago and for 1/24th. And it's got, phone booth, it's got the phone in it, and the phone book hanging and everything, and kind of the thing of the past nowadays, the phone booths. But that made me think of it when you were showing that, they were showing that video of building it.
Yeah, it's sure you sure do see nobody understands what that phone is hanging, or the phone book hanging in the booth. Like, where did that go away?
Right, yeah.
That's what I put in the comments. What's that book like thing hanging down?
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So.
And it sure dates yourself in a hurry.
Yeah, but those are the kind of models that make a scene, though,
60 years old tomorrow. Thank you.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday and many more.
Absolutely.
Thank you. I was just visiting the Wit and Wisdom website. As far as the straight up diner goes, it looks like he's only got a few O scale ones and a few N scale ones left. I didn't check the complete building because I don't really have space for the whole thing.
Yep.
So if you want just the diner, apparently in HO or S, you're out. So
that's my understanding. They went fast.
Yeah, I don't know how many. Like, I didn't look at the whole kit. He might have some of those left.
He does.
Well, I mean, in those scales, I don't know. I'm sure he's got some.
He does. He has the whole kit in all the scales.
Okay.
That's why I mentioned it, because of some of the scales, he's got more of them than others. So if you want one of these, like I say, now is the time.
What kind of discount is he offering?
10%.
Okay.
Just think about India when you're looking at the price.
Yeah. Isn't that something? I mean, when I talk to model railroaders over there, they tell me, this is why the hobby is as small as it is here. And except for this one company that I found over there, I haven't found any other companies anywhere in the world that manufacture Indian model railroads for the Indian railroad system. And except for this one company, and it started by two guys, and I think that they're moving right along and doing very well with it right now.
Yes. Kind of quiet out there, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Anybody else got anything they'd like to talk about? What do you think about the idea about the division and local clubs? How does that strike everybody?
There's a lot of them, Jim.
I understand. The more the merrier, as far as I'm concerned.
I think it's a good idea to get some exposure of what's going on at local areas around the country. I'm in a process right now of writing an email to Phil about what goes on in this area around Seattle and Puget Sound.
Well, I appreciate it. And, we've got some other people that are on the show off and on that are superintendents of divisions. And you learn a lot about the different modelers and what their interest is, and whether they'll help other people or not, or are they there just for the friendship part of it, or they want to come and drink a cup of coffee and say hello, or are they really there for the modeling and the learning experience and that kind of thing.
All of the above.
And there's in a division normally you'll get a slice of that. My experience in club members basically seem to be one or the other type, and predominantly a club will either be a social club or a modeling club. But at least my experience in clubs, they're not. There's not an even split, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
And I think both clubs and divisions have a tendency to be cyclical over time with different things depending on the membership. And and in a club, a lot of times you go through a different membership when you're building the layout than when you get to the point where it's kind of built and it's operating and it made more shows. And so I think the interest levels of the members of the club may change over time. And so it's kind of interesting. How do you manage that in a club where, it's essentially complete? How do you provide modeling opportunities for members? If there's a lot of very reasonably quality existing modeling on the layout.
Or Phil, you can also look at an example that's, in our case, the exact opposite of that. We had a very active club with around 30 to 35 members, most that would show up every Tuesday night, with a large layout in the basement of a church that we held public openings for often. And when the church was sold, we had to move out, and we've been struggling. We have not found another place. So we've maintained the social aspect of the club while we're looking for another location, but our membership dropped by 2/3 during that.
Yep. And if you find a location, then you'll get members that'll come back, right?
Absolutely.
That want to build, and so, I think that's kind of one of the challenges with clubs is the facilities. And what you find is clubs that have their own facilities or can figure it out seem to be in a much better position than those that operate, that kind of live at the whim of some other group.
Yeah.
So,
and I think what you'll hear too, depending on who shows up here, I think you're going to hear a wide range of different kinds of programs and activities and really the philosophy of the people. I think Phil will agree with me. Really, the success, my experience, has been the success of a region or a club is the leadership. If the superintendent of a division is not really pushing it and providing leadership for that division, then that division is not going to be successful. It boils down to the leadership in these organizations that make them or break them. At least that's been my experience. And I think, having the people on, you may hear some people that you say, geez, I don't want anything to do with them. Well, that's probably a division superintendent that his members may feel the same way about him. Or they look at him and they say what a great guy he is to his face. And then behind his back, they say, I don't know why we even come to these meetings. And yeah, there's that kind of division out there. I guarantee you there is. But most of the divisions that I've associated with or been involved with, they really have excellent people that step up and want to really provide a service to the hobby and to the modelers that are there. And it's amazing, some of the numbers that'll turn out for a meeting. I mean, you'll see people that, except for that one time a quarter or whenever they have their meetings, you'll never see them because they may live 100 miles from you. And all of a sudden, you'll get these people coming together in one place and be able to benefit from their experience in modeling. And that's been my experience in some of the divisions around the country.
I was in a club in the Washington, D.C. area, and they had a monthly, one of the Tuesday nights was their business meeting every month. That was the best attended meeting every month. All those bureaucrats, they love meetings. That's what they love to do.
Well, one of the clubs I was a member of was that you've heard me talk about it, the Detroit United Railway Trolley Club. And one of the things that you had to do to get the people to come to your home is you had to have chocolate cake or a sweet of some kind, but preferably a chocolate cake. And I'm not talking about your little small chocolate cake. I'm talking about a tray from the bakery of a chocolate cake that would serve 30, 40 people. And so you had to have something like that to feed the people. Plus you had to have M&Ms, nuts, different kinds of pop, iced tea, and that was it. I mean, it was kind of like, you set up a buffet.
As a social club.
Well, it was, but we all built trolley layouts. That's what brought us together in the first place. We were modelers, and we built stuff. And we used to bring the models that we were building and working on, we used to bring them to the meets and show people and run them on each other's layouts and so forth. But come time for eat, then all of the models were put away. And you went in and you sat down and you went through the buffet line and you probably gained 15 pounds by the time you left one of the club meetings.
Yep. This is Larry here. Yeah, I'm in Toronto, and I moved to Toronto in 1969, married in 72. My wife didn't like me road racing. She didn't like me collecting guns. So I was only left with sailing. So then I found a railway club. I just happened to go out in an open house. The Delaware and Rutland Model Railway Club was HO. They owned their own building. And I was very impressed with it. It was huge. So I joined it. And within a couple of years, I'm on the board of directors, but 3 of the men was on that board were older than I was, and they were war vets. When they came back, they were starting families, they were buying a house, they were starting, children, all the things you get caught up in that. But 3 of the 4, there's a couple more, they went and got a mortgage and bought an industrial building. And I thought we're indebted. So we, during my tenancy on the board of directors, we retired that loan, and we went on from there. So, and they were the mentors for me. It was broken into departments. We met twice a week, 2 nights a week, and we'd have 2 nights of work, I believe it was, and then 2 nights of operation. It was a great operating club. That's why I learned about operation. And we had a CTC board, first one I'd ever seen. And 2 of the gentlemen, they worked for Bell Canada and then Northern Telecom. So they got all the equipment. There was all these huge boards of these little glass blocked relays clicking away because they operated all the main switches all over the whole layout. And it was just amazing. And I used to belong to the NMRA, and I enjoyed going to the local conventions twice a year, one in the fall, one in the spring. Was great. Contest room. I really always enjoyed the contest room, and then going to clinics. And but politics. It's too bad it's just so much politics, but you do need a hierarchy to run in such a large organization. We were in Canada, so we were kind of like the poor cousins up here on this side of the border, the way it felt. But I still, whenever you talk about mentoring, I always go back to think of those men, the older men in that club, and they were sort of head of the different departments: scenery, electric, track, or maintenance. We had some that would sit there and just work on engines, and one fellow was very skilled. He built four brass engines, just looking at the plans in MR Craftsman, those plans. You used to see double page plans, and he would work from that and built an engine just from those. Amazing.
Well, when I was coming up in the hobby and everything, it used to remind me of it was almost like getting a union card. If you belong to a club or you belong to the NMRA and you went to the divisions or whatever, it was almost like you had your union card. And the same way the unions used to have apprentice programs and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's the kind of situation that I was able to experience when I was trying to learn how to build models and, wanted to learn more. And I found that the more questions I asked and the more people I asked to help me, the more help I got. And now I hear from modelers that say, I'm not so sure I feel comfortable asking people for questions. Asking questions because maybe they'll think I'm stupid or, whatever. And my reaction is you got to ask the questions. To me, the greatest honor you can bestow on somebody is to ask for their help because you're giving them the honor of recognizing that they're superior to you in that knowledge. And what you're trying to do is say, teach me, help me here. And I think that's one of the greatest honors you can bestow on somebody is to ask for their help. So just go and ask is my best advice.
That's true. And if you copy somebody's model, you say, well, you copied my model, but that is an honor. You recognize them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the other part of it is you've heard me talk about the thrill of being able to stand back and look at something that you've built and say, I built that. I'm telling you, there's a lot of pride in that. And, trying to get people to understand and that have never experienced that, what it's like is hard. But I mean, it's a thrill. At least it was to me.
We're lucky here in Toronto for railway clubs. There's a no-gauge railway club that's been around since the 40s. And they are now in the third location. They're closer to my home in the east end of Toronto, but they are renting, but it's a very large club and not big membership. I don't know what, they may be up like 25 members. When the DNR, the club I belong to, we always bounced between 15 to 20 members. And it was dues, of course. And it was structured and it was actually a company. We had a board of directors and we always had to have a shareholders meeting once a year and show the financials and all that type of thing. And it was very structured. And that way we could, maintain that mortgage. And it was quite a large building. So it was split in half and there was another company next door. So we rented that out to them for years, a company there, and that helped pay the mortgage right there. The dues, that was just for things we wanted to do on the club for buying, whatever we needed.
You're fortunate to have had the financial backing to help you maintain the club in a building. And a lot of us don't have that, and it's hard to get a group to pay the amount of money and fees in order to maintain a building like that. So that's why we go from home to home.
Yeah,
it's a little different with the divisions. They include all of these clubs in the area, plus anyone who joins the NMRA and the NFR. Our division in WOD, the Western Ontario Division in Southwestern Ontario, is pushing the same thing that Jim is doing right now, trying to help people learn some of the things that they need to know to get better in their hobby. Our district superintendent, he's quite knowledgeable on how to run something. You need somebody who knows how to do that, which Jim does himself and his helpers. It means a lot. Otherwise, you don't get anywhere. You can't even get off the ground if you don't have somebody with that type of knowledge to help you along.
Well, you're exactly right. I give you a perfect example. When we moved to Florida, I moved in an area with a division that had not had a meeting for 25 years. And because nobody else wanted it, I was elected superintendent of the division. Well, 2 years later, we had quarterly meetings all over the division, never in the same place. We had $2,000 in our treasury. and the membership was growing. Now, I was told when I took over as superintendent, the region has enough meetings. We don't need any more meetings, so we don't want you to have meetings. And I said, okay. And then I was told, well, if you have meetings, you can only have them in one place because that's where most of us live and we're not going to travel. I said, okay. Well, it took 2 years. We had meetings all over the division, one of the largest divisions in Florida. Had meetings all over the division. And we had $2,000 in our bank account. And we charged $10 to come to a meeting. You got lunch, got all day. We had clinics. We had a what I'm calling on the show build-alongs. What we had was a modeler, and I called up a manufacturer to donate the kits, and we had free kits, and the modeler built the kit, and anybody that would come and contribute a little bit of money for the division could get a kit and build along with that modeler. That was the concept of the build-alongs that I tried to do on this show. It's all possible. You just got to have somebody that wants to do it. And it's the key to the division is the success of the leadership. If you've got the leadership, and Phil, I think you will agree with me on this 100%, the leadership will develop that division. When he leaves, if the person that comes in doesn't do anything, then it'll be right back the way it was before all of the things that have happened in the past. It is the person that's in that leadership role in a division or a club, whether board of directors, whoever it is, they're going to make that club or division.
All right.
Oh, I got to go. Good night, guys.
Hey, Jamie.
Take care.
Jamie, thanks so much.
Good night.
We're kind of one of the fortunate ones with our club that up in Elkhart, Indiana, we've owned the building since 1950, and it's not a huge building, but it's all paid for, and we got about 27 members now, and we do an annual train show, and that gives us enough money to keep the place going and keep it maintained, and but a lot of like a lot of you guys are saying, a lot of places are not fortunate to have their own building, and I've seen some clubs around that come and go because they don't have a building, and all of a sudden wherever they're at changes and they're out the building, so then that just spans the club, unfortunately. But so
Well, you're fortunate to have the club. You really are, and frankly, that's what this is all about. To hear about those kind of successes, because some areas that have modelers that don't have clubs, don't have divisions, don't have meetings, don't have any kind of get together, maybe somebody will hear something and say, well, I might be able to do that. Why don't I call some of my buddies and let's see if we couldn't do something like that here.
right. Well, and our years back, way before I was a member, I mean, I've heard stories that there was just a couple people and in the club, in that building, and one member pretty much maintained it because that was his life, and he kept the club going for a couple of years just on some of his own money as well, because there wasn't members to help support it. So that's dedication as well too.
You're darn right. And the club ought to be appreciative to him for doing it.
Oh, we are. We're indebted to him big time, and we always bring him up usually in a meeting. His saying was, "We've got money in the bank, but we're broke," and but all the bills were paid, and that's the so we've been fortunate the last 15 years of doing train shows and growing and everything, and we do an annual one every year, and that's created a lot of extra money for us to be able to upgrade the building and keep it up to date, and a lot of things we didn't have beforehand. But
Well, you may get a kick out of this. When I was trying to get this division kicked off, my philosophy it was use other people's money. So when so to have the first, so instead of me having to kick out of my own pocket to rent a space to try to find where we could have a meeting, I went to the local train club that was holding a train meet show kind of thing, to sell, have tables and that kind of stuff and have a regular train show. And I went to them and I said, listen, I'll get the division to support your train show and try to get as many people as I can out to your train show. But what I need a room for a couple of hours during your train show where I can have a division meeting. And by gosh, the guy said, okay, I'll do that for you. And that was the meeting. That was our first division meeting after 25 years in that train show.
well, our division up here, Michiana division, NMRA, they're using libraries for the meets. And that works out. They haven't been since COVID, but and they kind of do move all over the area that the division is in for meetings like you were talking, Jim, that don't hold it in one spot, so you get more people to come that way. And hopefully someday we'll get back to doing that. But right now we've been doing Zoom meetings, and because the libraries are real reluctant to even let people in groups, But our division here uses the library. They ask for a room, and as long as it's open to the public, they let you use a room, and there's no charge there, so no expense other than you getting there, But, so that's an idea too for divisions that want to do meetings, is check out the local libraries.
Absolutely.
I think up here now, we'd have to pay for libraries because like everything else, everybody's looking for money and funds, especially all the city's growing. But there's a historical group up here, a railway historical group. They've been around for years, the 50s or 40s. And they meet at City Hall. And we have another hall called Metro Hall. And but they have to pay for those committee rooms, but they're not, I guess it's not that big a charge. And that's another way of getting around it.
Try the only stipulation of our libraries here is they have to be open to the public, so if somebody coming in the library wanted to come into that meeting, they'd be welcome to come in and sit down, but which is no big deal because you're not going to get, you might get one person that come in and do that, but
well, that's this COVID has just turned everything upside down. We had a lot of train shows. In fact, some weekends in the falls and the spring, there'd be shows that to be two shows, you'd have to decide which one you're going to go to, and they would hold them in schools, a lot of schools, and they'd always been going back to the same school for 20 years. That's all gone because the schools do not want to have groups in the school, especially on a weekend. And then the janitor would have to come in and they have to sanitize and have it ready for the children coming in on Monday. So all those different places, the same here with cadets. And we have a military organization that used to fund the cadets to a degree and give them a space in their meeting halls. And that's gone, by the way, for now anyway. So in-person meetings, it's just not happening.
Well, COVID has made us go that way, and it's actually showed us a whole new avenue, like we're doing right now.
Yes.
I mean, we couldn't do this if we went to some place, because I wouldn't bother going 120 miles to see Jim. If Jim's on Zoom, then I can talk to him personally. That's made a whole difference in the way this hobby is going to go. We can't learn something from somebody that's 100 miles away, and if we only see them at meetings once a month or less. This way we can actually see them here, talk to them personally, and say, look, I got a question, can you answer that question for me? It's a great way to learn.
Yeah,
well, that's why I'm doing these. What you just said is the reason that I started these.
Exactly.
Well, within the group I'm in now, it's been around Robin. I've been with them about 35 years. We're old gauge, well, for the most part, old gauge, narrow gauge. It's a narrow gauge group, but there's a couple of full standard gauge guys come on board, and I'm really happy to have them too. And so it's, there's about 22 of us now. So it's really hard to get, our houses are getting right to the limit. But what Jim said about the food, I used, within that was 22, we'd meet once a month and round robin. And those that had layouts, always was those that had layouts. And so we'd take some of the ones that didn't have layouts and they'd be co-hosts. So they would supply the refreshments in the afternoon, the drinks, pop the beer and chips and everything. And then when generally we go out to supper after the afternoon and go to a restaurant together. But I hosted, because just the geographical locality, we had about 5 or 6 members here in Toronto. Some have passed now. And so we used to always get together on a Wednesday night and we would go to somebody's house and work on their layout. And they were just getting back to my place because we worked on one fellow's layout for 10 years consecutively. And, but, we have to have at the end of the night after around 10:30, we'd come upstairs in the dining room and I'd have the coffee and a tea on. Somebody wanted tea and there's always, cake. Somebody brought the sweets. And then, sometimes you kick in cheese and other things, crackers and whatever. Yeah, that was, always had to end with a little feast.
Did you ever get the layout done?
No, mine's not done yet. Of course, I keep taking parts out of it and keep changing it. And Jim was asking me to send some pictures. I just sent some pictures, of a build, that's the thing that's going on. But right now, there's stuff laying on top of my layout. Because I'm rebuilding the other end of the basement. If we had shut down early, I was going to go down and paint another 2 walls, but that's the way it goes. I procrastinate. When you say build along, well, God, you'd have to be around for 2 years to build along with me.
Well, they say the layouts are never done, but
I'm like that. I'm like, it's all about concept and visualizing and then building the thing. And now somebody I was on the weekend show, Saturday show, and somebody said they didn't like mock-ups. Well, I use mock-ups and they're fantastic for, you set them and you look at site. I'm always looking at sight lines and things like that. And I don't believe in building little tiny buildings that look like frontier town for where children might go, on a Saturday. Buildings are large. You think you go into a small town, USA or here in Ontario, and the main street is nice brick and stone buildings, 3 stories high with storefronts down the bottom and everything. And they're quite sized. So when you put that into modeling perspective, everybody's, oh, that's too big. But, no, we're always used to selective compression. But anyway, I do use mock-ups. They are a very handy tool. In fact, I may send in some more pictures of a building I'm doing right now, and it started from a mock-up. And it was all about sight lines. I knew what it had to do. It was an engine house for my ON30, a little tram line. But I did not want it to interfere with sight lines on the railroad. So I got it far enough, and I said, that's it. Then I just took my dividers or measuring tools and took the measurements off of that, took it over to my workbench, and I worked off of, I get this, we have staples, and they have these sheets of paper, and you can tear them off sheet by sheet, and it's 1/4-inch grid. It's great for O-scalers. And you tape that down, and I just build a jig on top of that, and I start doing my walls. So I may send in some pictures of that. For that, again, that's another building that's not finished, but I can see it in my head, and that's once I see that, then I sort of lose interest. I'm on to something else. I got too many things on the go, and it's like whenever in the house, whenever I do a project, write down, but there's a lot of rooms. I had to go back, 3 years later and put the 1/4 round down. I just got to the point and I just never got back. Yeah, I'll get that next weekend. Never did.
Like the plumber's wife never gets us.
That's right. Or shoemaker's kids are going shoeless to school. Yes.
All right. I think right about now is a good time to kill off YouTube. Yeah. So we'll stop with YouTube.
Well, thanks everybody. Thanks everybody for staying and really appreciate it. And I think we had a good show.
Yeah. Thanks, Jim. Everyone on YouTube, like, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. And if you want to be actually on the Zoom meeting, go to newtracks.com and sign up, and you can
New Tracks Modeling, New
now
Tracks
New Tracks,
Modeling.
yes, New Tracks Modeling. What Jim said, he's the one in charge.
NewTracksModeling.com.
And join in on the fun.
Drag
All right.
the ball, kick the ball, drag in.
Yes.